Something is happening behind the scenes of one of the biggest ongoing legal stories in entertainment history, and it involves a name most people weren't expecting to hear. Justin Bieber has quietly stepped back into the public conversation, and according to sources close to the situation, that alone is enough to make Sean Combs increasingly uneasy behind bars. There's a reason for that. If what's being alleged is even partially true, Justin may know more about Diddy's private world than almost anyone still willing to talk. And now, with an audio recording allegedly leaking to media outlets that appears to involve Diddy and Bieber, the question everyone is quietly asking is, how much does Justin actually know? And what happens if he decides to say it out loud? What makes this whole thing harder to dismiss is that it isn't just gossip. There is documented footage of Diddy physically checking Justin for wires. That alone says something. You don't do that to someone you trust casually. You do that when you're afraid of what they might be carrying. But the most telling moment isn't from a leaked clip or a secondhand rumor. It's from an old interview that most people scrolled right past at the time. Go back and watch it now, knowing everything that's come out, and it hits completely differently. Justin is laughing, talking about music, cracking jokes, doing what young celebrities do when a camera is in their face. But then the interviewer asks him something that cuts through all of that. What would you say to your 15-year-old self? And that's where the mask slips, just slightly. He says he was innocent. He says he trusted everyone. He says being young and open in that industry isn't always safe, because people see vulnerability, and some of them use it. He talks about eventually building walls, shutting people out, losing himself in the process. And then, almost defiantly, he says he decided he wasn't going to let them win. Those aren't the words of someone who just had a rough patch in his career. Those are the words of someone describing something much more specific. And the timeline matters here, because the period he's quietly referring to traces back to when he was 15, the same age he appeared in that now widely discussed video with Diddy. The one where Combs is casually handing him car keys, talking about a Lamborghini, promising him a mansion when he turns 18, and describing the whole situation as Justin having 48 hours with Diddy. He even says, on camera, that he's been given custody of him. And whatever was happening during those 48 hours, his exact words were that it was, quote, a 15-year-old's dream, and that they couldn't really disclose where they were or what they were doing. That clip has been replayed hundreds of thousands of times over the past year. And every time someone watches it with fresh eyes, the reaction is the same. Joe Budden said publicly that watching the videos of Justin circulating online had him holding back tears. He described the way grown adults in positions of power treated Bieber during that era as something that looked, in his words, disgusting and nasty, describing a teenager being treated like an underage escort by people who should have known better. And he wasn't just pointing at one person. He said it was everybody. Ellen, James Corden, multiple industry figures who interacted with Justin in ways that, looking back now, nobody stepped in to stop. Justin himself said it on live radio at 15 years old. Why are you talking to me about sex? Can we please talk about the album? And the interview just kept going. Katy Perry, Jenny McCarthy, Madonna leaning into him on a talk show telling him he smelled amazing and asking him how old he was while the audience laughed. He was 16, and the cameras kept rolling and nobody said a word. This is the environment that shaped the years Justin has since described as the darkest of his life. The heavy partying, the reckless behavior, the complete unraveling of someone who had entered the industry as a focused, driven kid. Those around him have pointed out that the shift didn't happen gradually. It happened after specific events. And as one voice in this conversation put it plainly, what would cause a kid like that to suddenly start drinking, drugging, popping pills, and checking out? Usually trauma, or a Diddy party. Now, layered on top of all of this is a legal development that's making a lot of people uncomfortable. Diddy's legal team has taken his case to a federal appeals court, arguing that his sentence was too harsh given what he was ultimately convicted of. A jury cleared him of the trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges. He was convicted on lesser prostitution-related offenses and sentenced to 4 years and 2 months, a term his attorneys are now calling excessive. Prosecutors pushed back, saying the sentence is actually below federal guidelines and consistent with similar cases. He's currently scheduled for release in April of 2028. But that could change. Jaguar Wright, who has been vocal about the industry throughout this entire saga, said something that cuts to the core of what a lot of people are feeling. She was asked what the entertainment landscape would look like if Diddy came home. Her answer was direct: the same. Because to her, one person leaving prison doesn't fix the system that allowed any of this to happen in the first place. The same networks, the same protections, the same unspoken rules, they don't disappear because one name is removed from the equation. She also went further, suggesting that Diddy isn't operating in isolation, that there are people with real power who view any serious accountability directed at him as a threat to themselves. She pointed to patterns, symbols, associations, the timing of certain media pushes, and argued that what most people see as disconnected celebrity gossip is actually part of something with much deeper roots. Whether you follow her entirely or not, the pattern she's describing, powerful people shielding other powerful people, isn't exactly a new concept. Gene Deal, who knew Combs long before the world started paying this level of attention, was careful to frame things in terms of what's confirmed versus what's being discussed. He acknowledged that a lot of what's circulating is unverified. But he also said that there are reportedly multiple tapes, not just one, involving Diddy and other people, some potentially underage, some allegedly involving other celebrities. He said if any of that turns out to be real and reaches legal scrutiny, it's going to be, in his words, crazy. And he also noted something that tends to get lost in speculation. Real evidence doesn't stay hidden indefinitely. It either surfaces through legal process or it doesn't. And until it does, everything stays in that gray area. Which brings everything back to Justin Bieber. Because the theory isn't just that something may have happened to him. It's that he may have information that certain people very much do not want surfacing. And with Diddy's release potentially on the horizon, earlier than anyone expected, the urgency around that question is growing. What kind of environment was he actually inside? What did he see? And now that he's older, healed enough to speak in public again, and no longer under the umbrella of the industry figures who surrounded him as a teenager, what, if anything, is he willing to say? Those questions don't have clean answers yet, but they're being asked louder than ever.